Hey you guys, welcome. Do you ever have one of those kind of instances where something just triggers your memory? We all do. It's not quite deja vu, but it's this like sudden amazing point where you're like, oh my gosh, I used to do that. I've had one of those actually several times lately, on Facebook or Instagram, where they have one of those memes that's like a big word search and it's the one word or the three words you see define you. And I always think they're fun. I'm not sure how much they truly define us, but just to see what shows up. And one I did recently had self-care, and that was the word I saw, was self-care. And I was completely transported back to a job I had about 5-6 years ago where I managed a fitness center part-time, but a lot of it was office time. Actually, the overarching body was Walgreens, or the company that owns Walgreens that I worked for. So I had to do a lot of online training about prescription medications and safety in the workplace that weren't necessarily relevant to my day-to-day job. It was kind of grueling from that perspective, just a lot of training and a lot of stuff that wasn't my like ideal connection with people. So I would try and carve out time for self-care when I had that job. Even though it was part-time, I needed that space because I was also teaching and freelance writing. I would actually roll out my mat. I had an office, which is a big luxury, I know, for some of us. And I would roll out my mat and sometimes at lunch hour just do a nice, quiet recovery or yin-like practice. And so I thought I'd share that type of practice with you guys today. Instead of a flow, this is all about bringing yourself down to the ground. You can see we're right here on the floor, and really helping you settle your energy. As the world's opening back up, I think a lot of us are overwhelmed. And it's either overwhelmed by emotions because we don't know what to do. We're overwhelmed by the political situation in our country, and we're overwhelmed just by trying to balance our day-to-day, health needs, along with psychological needs, our needs to get back in the community and feel connection. So let this practice kind of ground you a little bit and bring you to a space where you feel more confident in your everyday and day being. And so what I invite you to do is, I have some yoga blocks right here. If you don't want to use blocks, guess what? Don't use them. Use rolled up towels, like bath towels. Just roll them up into little cylinders, and they'll support you just as well. Whatever you decide to use, grab a couple of them. Could be rolled up like throw blankets that you have on your couch. Just something to support you. Because right now we're gonna lay down on our back. And as you come to this space, you can place the blocks or the rolled up towel or towels or blankets under your knees, just so they bend a little bit, and soften your body down. And as you're here, this helps just release the really uncomfortable arch in your back. Let the mat fully support you. Close your eyes. And just notice your natural breath. Notice the natural breath as it gets deeper and goes all the way to your toes, to your fingertips. And feel the energy, the healing energy of the breath radiate up through your legs, into your knees, into your hips. And from your fingertips through the elbows and shoulders, so that your whole torso gets a little bit more alive. Sometimes when we take a quiet practice like this, we start shoulding ourselves. And when I say should, I mean telling ourselves that this isn't productive. But taking care of yourself is perhaps the most productive thing you can do. You're no good to anybody if you're tired, exhausted, mentally fatigued, physically destroyed. creativity centers become depleted. You become more irritable. You lose the vibrancy that is you. Practices like this can restore it, call it back in. Stay laying here about 10 more breaths. Big breath in, a big breath out, and then slowly start to bend the knees. And the prop you have underneath, just, if you have 2 blocks, let one go away. Bring the other one up if you can. It could also be the rolled up towel, and bend your knees pretty deeply. The soles of the feet stay strong in the floor. Keep the heels close to your buttocks. It just relaxes the hamstrings. Inhale, lift your hips, and if you have a block, you have several heights to choose from. If you have towels, you might take a couple of them or just one and place it under your back. And sometimes the compulsion here is to resist, to be like, oh, this is how high I'm supposed to be. Instead of bringing yourself into the automatic space of resistance, bring yourself into the place of release. Don't worry about how great the arch is here. Just really think about opening up the front of the hips. Sink into your block or your towel. Let the arms relax. Keep your knees bent, or if it's there for you, straighten the legs out. And the supported bridge will stay in for quite a few breaths. Stay with it just a little longer. And slowly start to move little bits. Bringing yourself out of it gradually. Take your knees, bend them again if you had straightened them. If they're already bent, just pause there. And then lift your hips just the subtlest amount to slide your prop out from under and let your hips come down to the floor. Pause. There might be tingling sensations, even a little discomfort as you come right out of the pose. It's the after effects, the aftertaste. And then after you're here for a moment, let the legs start to sway side to side. You know, we always think self-care has to look super extra, like some huge bubble bath with expensive bath bombs. Or you have to spend a ton of money at a salon for a facial or a massage. But you can elicit self-care for yourself. Let's go ahead, take the knees in towards your shoulders. Let your whole back be in the floor and the soles of the feet come up to the sky. Your hands come to the bottoms of the feet. They can rest right on tops of the feet. They could grab the big toes. Our hands could come to the insides of the knees. This is your happy baby. You know, happy baby I've always thought of as feeling good, like a great finisher. And it does feel good, but it changes as you hold it for several breaths, like we're going to. Settle in, let your breath be natural. And instead of resisting the pose, like fighting it using muscular action to push down, just let the weight of your hands, the weight of them just simply sit. These poses, you hit a point where you're like, okay, that was enough. Let me fast forward, let me move on to the next thing. But that moment where you want to get out, that's where the pose is starting to do its work. Your patience, it's rewarded. Baby, you start to release from the feet or the knees. Bring the legs in and extend them straight up towards the ceiling. Flex the toes just slightly towards your shins. Hands come alongside you. Pause. Both postures are affording you the benefit of a little reversal of blood flow. purifying and clarifying. And bend your knees, let the feet come down to the floor. Open the arms to a T, and we'll take a twisted root, or it's really just a simple spinal twist. Let's bring the feet a nice distance apart, like mat distance, maybe even a little farther, and the legs fall over to the right side. For this, the bottom foot, the right one comes outside the knee of the left leg and weighs it down. If this is exceptionally uncomfortable to you, or uncomfortable in any bit, causing radiating or tingling discomfort in the spine, then you don't have to stack the feet. You don't have to twist your root. And then right here, lift the head on up and physically turn it, then set the ear down. And start to soften. Start to just be. Like this is beautiful just before bed. Really anytime during the day. It could even be in lieu of your afternoon nap. Because as relaxing as it is, if you step away after it's done, refocus, you might find a greater sense of rejuvenation, an energy of light. Let your mind dump a little here. Don't try and stifle thoughts or push them away. Simply notice that they're there, they're present, and that they don't have a power over you. They're just that, they're just thoughts. Let's go ahead. If your foot is stacked on the knee, release it. Bring yourself to center so that your head is supported at the back of the skull on the mat and the knees are pointed up to the sky. If you found your hips shifted a slight bit, rearrange them so that both backs of the hips are on the floor. Pause for a moment, open the arms again, and then the legs fall over to the other side. Remember, they're nice and wide. And as they fall here, opportunity to take the left outer foot, lay it on top of the right knee. Arrange the shoulders, lift your head, and go ahead and turn to the right. Let your whole ear be in the mat, and how open or narrow your arms are with your torso, it truly depends on you. and what physically feels right. Close your eyes. And feel where you're holding on, soften. Stay with it. Start to slide the left foot off the right knee. Bring your legs back to center. Pause. And then hug both knees just into your chest, not happy baby style, just strong. You might rock a little, massage out the backs of the hips. And from here, we'll make our way over to all fours. And to do so, it'll be simple. Just kind of come to a side. Push yourself up and over, hands and knees. Your back got a little emphasis during that, so let's drop the belly, lift the chest and tailbone. And then exhale, arch the spine. Release for a moment. So open the knees wide. And then from here, taking your right hand underneath your body, let it come underneath and grab your left foot. Bury the head down. And your left arm, it starts to reach forward. And then you rainbow slightly over to the right side. Soften and melt. Your right hand becomes somewhat limp and loose. It's not holding on. It's simply tucked away. If you need to arrange, sink deep or do. Wherever you are, breathe. Slowly thread the right arm out, coming back up and walking yourself back to the more centralized setup. And here the left arm, it threads under and beneath. It comes maybe around the ankle of the right leg. Let it settle in and start to rainbow over to the left side. Your forehead does its best to touch the mat. If it can't touch down, bring one of those blocks or towels underneath it. And then slowly unthread the left arm. And slither yourself forward so you're laying all the way down on the mat. The elbows, they're right underneath the shoulders, and your chest is busting between your biceps. Let your chin drop to your chest. It's a Sphinx pose. A beautiful release through the back of the neck, the cervical spine. A little compression in the lumbar, helping contribute to bone density. And release as you let the shoulders fall like waterfalls down your back. Sometimes when it comes to a slower practice like this, we create all sorts of excuses. I just can't calm down that much. Often when you say you can't slow down, you can't calm down, you can't give yourself this space, it's not a can't, it's a won't. Oftentimes it's this very practice that would serve you best. The other excuse is not our overarching energy, but our time. Time is limited. We say we don't have time for that. But then what you're saying is you don't have time for you. That seems so incredibly unfair. When you value something, you make time for it. Value you. The next breath or two, start to slowly lift up the head and wing the elbows out to the sides. Lay your forehead down on the little platform of your hands. Widen your legs as much as you need to. The toes can turn out. They might be flat.
breathe here. And then a little reverse windshield wiper, bend the knees. And slowly let them fall right, the legs that is. They come center, and they fall over to the left. Just a couple times. You know, our body is extremely, extremely cooperative. It wants to help you more than anything. So if you sit a lot, walk a lot, run a lot in a linear movement, cycle a lot, the body's like, okay, this is what you want to do. So it starts to create muscle patterns and tightness so that it makes you more efficient at the activity you do a lot of. The problem is your body isn't designed to move just linearly. Relax the legs down. And as your body's trying to help, it actually hurts itself, creating imbalances and tightness. Let's bring the hands under the shoulders, rise up. The beauty of yoga, even a quiet practice like this, is it helps move you in multiple directions so that you don't get stuck. Let's bring the right knee towards the right wrist. And then right here, start to slide the right foot towards the left edge of the mat. Your left leg begins to slide back, coming into our half pigeon. And this might be where you find it helpful to take your block or towel and just kind of set it underneath. You can see I'm setting it just underneath this right cheek. You'll be able to see better on the other side. My leg is nowhere near parallel. I'm not there today, and it's okay. Reaching this leg back, see if you can make the leg as straight as possible, but if it curves in or out a little bit, don't get all bent out of shape. Here, we're not worried about perfect form, we're worried about perfect feeling. And start to come down just to your forearms, pause there. And if you determine this is where you should land, the rolled up towel, the second one, or your fists can form a little tower for your head. The block, it works just as well, any height. And this might be enough for you. If you pretty readily come all the way down to the mat, and then hang out there. Settle in, start to soften. And we'll be here for again, just some time. Beginning of practice, I mentioned that self-care was such an important part. It still is of my days. And it's such a visceral experience that, when I would lay out the mat on the floor in the office where I worked, I can still smell like the fibers and feel that particular carpet underneath me. Sensation and breath connected really brings you into the present moment so that it becomes something that's true to you. Pause and breathe. Sink a little deeper if you can. Give yourself another exhale or so to ground, and then slowly, ever so slowly, start to lift the head and crawl the hands back underneath the shoulders. Sit up nice and tall. Pause for the moment. Brace yourself on your hands. And then go ahead, slowly bring your right leg back. Come to all fours, and then lay down onto your belly, sliding on down. Slide the hands, the palms form a little platform for your head. The elbows flare out. You just take this pause to digest, to experience what happened there on the right side. Continue to breathe here in this forward lying position. Just be. And then slowly let the hands come up underneath your armpits. Rise back up to all fours. And let the left knee come towards the left wrist, and the foot goes across to the right edge of the mat. You might have your foot parallel, or you wiggle to the place that feels right and walk your right leg back. See if the toe's pointed, but don't worry about the knee being perfectly aligned with the hip. Let it be out to the side. You might grab the block and place it underneath your cheek. And arrange yourself so that the shin becomes much more comfortable. And walk your hands, walk them forward. And pause on the forearms once again. Let the head drop down. You can always grab the block again and place it underneath the forehead for support. And just evaluate where you are right now in this space. Then you might move the block away and start to sink a little deeper. And as you sink deeper, there may be some resistance. You might need to arrange to stretch longer. Wherever you are, just settle into the space. We'll be here several breaths. Quieting practice, it activates your parasympathetic nervous system, the softer side of your reaction and stimulation in your body. Helps with digestion, helps release the positive neurotransmitters that make you feel good. Continue to stay just where you are. You might feel yourself just sink more deeply, your shoulders relax more, your jaw loosens. If there's a little discomfort, see if you can breathe through. Pain, of course you don't breathe through, but discomfort you can. Your last few inhales and exhales. the natural breath, and then slowly begin to lift the head, walk the hands back underneath your shoulders. Again, pause, sit up tall. And slowly move your block as you send the foot back. And from here, just begin to move your body into a seated space. It doesn't have to be some exotic yoga transition, and place the blocks back under your knees to support your spine and roll on down onto your back. Your head's in the floor. You might need to arrange a little. That's okay. Settle into your space. Close your eyes. And begin to completely release into Shavasana. This is perhaps the most important part of your practice, the active rest. Remember, there's nothing you have to do, nobody you have to be except who you're being at this moment in time. Celebrate it, sink into it. To stay here as long as you need. 5, 10, 15 minutes. But if you're ready, start to wiggle the toes and fingers. Wrists, ankles, big breath in, reach the arms overhead, create a stretch. And then bend the knees and just slide the block out of the way or the towel and come to a side into a fetal position. Cradle yourself. Slowly use one hand to press yourself up to a seat. Simple cross-legged, hands on your knees. Be so thankful what you've done for yourself today. Be yoga, be you, be beautiful. The light in me sees and honors the light in every one of you. Namaste.